Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I remember the exact moment I realized how quiet a hospital room can feel even when it's full of noise. Machines beeping, nurses moving fast, my wife's breathing sharp and uneven as she squeezed my hand like it was the only thing keeping her anchored to the world. Her name is Emily. We've been married for 9 years. I'm Daniel, 38, accountant, predictable, reliable, the kind of man people trust without thinking twice. Emily screamed through another contraction, her nails digging into my skin. I didn't pull away. I told her she was doing great. I told her I was proud of her. I told her everything was going to be okay. And in that moment, every word sounded true, even though I was carrying a secret that felt heavier than the baby about to enter the world. We've been trying for a child for almost 4 years. Doctors, tests, awkward conversations whispered late at night. They told us my chances were low. Not impossible, just unlikely. Emily cried when we heard that. I held her while she blamed herself anyway, like women often do. I told her we had time. I told her we had options. I meant it. Then, one afternoon, she stood in the bathroom holding a pregnancy test, her hands shaking so badly I had to steady them. She was smiling and crying at the same time. I remember laughing, pure and uncontrollable, because after years of disappointment, hope finally felt real. I didn't question it. I didn't want to. Pregnancy changed her, but I told myself that was normal. She became distant in small ways, protective of her phone, short-tempered. She stopped asking how my day went. She said she was tired. Hormones, stress. I accepted every explanation because love makes you generous with excuses. There was one night, though, that stayed with me. Emily came home late, said she'd been helping a co-worker move. Her perfume smelled different, not stronger, just unfamiliar. When I asked about it, she snapped at me, accused me of being paranoid. I apologized. I always apologize first. 3 months later, I found a message by accident. Her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. I swear that. I glanced down, saw a name I didn't recognize. I miss you already. That was it. No hearts. No emojis. Just those 3 words. I didn't confront her. Not right away. I told myself I needed proof. Or clarity. Or maybe courage. Instead, I did something quieter. I went back to my doctor. Asked questions I was afraid to hear the answers to. He didn't sugarcoat it. The odds hadn't changed. If anything, they were worse. That was when the timeline stopped making sense. I watched Emily's belly grow. I painted the nursery. I assembled the crib with my bare hands. Friends congratulated me. My parents cried when we told them. I smiled for pictures and felt like I was standing slightly outside my own body, watching a version of my life I no longer recognized. In private moments, doubt gnawed at me. I replayed conversations, counted weeks, remembered that unfamiliar perfume, the co-worker she never mentioned again. I started sleeping less, eating less, loving her in a careful, measured way, like I was afraid one wrong move would shatter everything. The night before she went into labor, Emily asked me if I was scared. I told her no. That was a lie. I was terrified, but not of becoming a father. I was terrified of what would happen after. Labor lasted 12 hours. I never left her side. I wiped sweat from her forehead. I whispered encouragement. When the pain overwhelmed her, she looked at me with complete trust. That look nearly broke me. When the baby finally arrived, the room filled with a sound I'll never forget. A sharp, living cry. A nurse placed a baby on Emily's chest. Tears streamed down her face. Everyone smiled. Everyone waited for me to step closer. I did. I looked at the baby's face. Dark hair, a nose that didn't resemble mine. I felt something twist deep in my chest, slow and final. Emily reached for my hand again and smiled at me, exhausted and radiant. That was when I knew, not suspected, not feared, knew. And I also knew I couldn't say anything yet. I stayed silent for 3 days. 3 long, suffocating days where nurses came and went, family visited with balloons, and people kept calling me Dad like it was already written in stone. I held the baby. I learned how to change a diaper. I rocked him in the middle of the night while Emily slept, exhausted and smiling in her dreams. And every time I looked down at that tiny face, I felt 2 emotions fighting inside me. Anger I couldn't name out loud, and grief for a future I realized had never really been mine. Emily noticed a shift before anyone else. She always did. On the 4th night, after her mother had gone home and the room finally fell quiet, she looked at me differently, not lovingly, not anxiously, carefully. "You're being weird," she said softly. I asked what she meant, even though I already knew. "You're here, but you're not," she replied. "You barely look at me." I sat down in the chair beside her bed. My hands felt numb, like they didn't belong to me anymore. I stared at the floor for a long moment, collecting words that didn't want to line up. "Emily," I said finally, "we need to talk." Her expression tightened instantly, the way someone looks when they already sense the ground about to give way. I told her I knew. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just said it calmly, like stating a fact that had been sitting between us for months. I told her about the message, about the doctor, about the timeline that never added up. I told her I held her hand through labor knowing the truth, and that it nearly broke me. She didn't interrupt. She didn't cry right away. She just stared at me, lips slightly parted, like she was waiting for the rest of the sentence that might somehow save her. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "Are you sure?" That question hurt more than any confession could have. I nodded. Once. Firmly. Her shoulders collapsed inward, and she covered her face with her hands. The sobs came then. Deep, animal sound of shame and fear. She admitted everything between gasping breaths. The coworker. A few months. She said it was a mistake. She said she was lonely. She said she was scared of never becoming a mother. She said she never planned for it to go this far. I listened. I didn't interrupt. When she finished, the silence felt heavier than the room itself. "What happens now?" she asked. That was the moment I realized how clear my mind felt. No fog, no confusion, just a calm resolve I hadn't felt in years. "I won't raise a child that isn't mine under a lie," I said, "and I won't stay married to someone who looked me in the eye and let me believe it was." She begged, not dramatically, not hysterically, just quietly, desperately. She said we could fix it, that she loved me, that the baby deserved stability, that I was the only father he'd ever know. I told her love doesn't survive deception. It suffocates under it. I arranged a paternity test the following week. I didn't need the results, but I wanted the truth documented. When it came back confirming what I already knew, something inside me finally unclenched. Not relief, closure. I filed for divorce 2 weeks later. People judged me, friends, even family. Some said I was cruel. Some said I should have stayed for the child. They spoke like loyalty meant self-erasure, like my pain was optional. Emily moved in with her sister. The baby's biological father never stepped up. That wasn't my burden to carry. The house felt empty at first, too quiet. But over time, the silence changed. It stopped feeling like loss and started feeling like peace. I still think about that hospital room sometimes, about the man I was when I held her hand through labor. Loyal, hopeful, blind. I don't regret my kindness. I regret the lie that made it necessary. Walking away wasn't strength. It was self-respect. And I learned something no one teaches.